Free will. Free will is the capacity of agents to choose between different possible courses of action unimpeded. Nevertheless, everything is predetermined. First, as the first point, everything is predetermined, including our seeking, and going home. It was said before this whole show was based upon the predetermined pattern, which is now working in the predetermined pattern. We provided for an experience of the determination that made the predetermined pattern, the will, that created the predetermined pattern. We exercised the will to make the pattern. It was the totality of consciousness that made the whole pattern in one whole. And that included the power of that predetermination to be experienced, again, at what level? At the physical level of a human being is the same power by which predetermined everything, and is now being used here. And when we say, we can make a distinction between good and bad, we can do this, we can do that, we're using a free will, we are using the same free will that predetermined the use of free will as between now. It looks like we are doing it now. But we did it earlier. So therefore, it was not somebody else's will. It was not somebody else who made the will. And now we are trapped in that will and we can't do anything. It's is our own will, very predetermined, locked that out. And then what it experiences again, at a level of creation, at a level of adventure in different regions, with only one little possibility was left of a human being in a human body, having the same experience again, of making decisions. And the decisions the human being makes now, through what it looks like now, present free will is just playing out the predetermined premium that we ourselves made earlier. So when somebody says, do we have free will? I said no, it's predetermined. They'll say I told a lie, because that predetermined is also made by us. That will be healthy will. Indeed, the free will we are using now we ourselves predetermined earlier. So how can we say we don't have free will? So this is a catch-22, whatever they call it. Do we have free will? Yes, we predetermined everything. Do we have free will? No, what you feel now is to be determined later. Because when we came into time and space, we created a past and present and future. Then free will became like a spider with time. Here free will is operating that I want to do this. When I say I want to do this, it happens next moment. It does not happen at the same time. When I said therefore, the time frame has made it look like a fresh free will, yes. Using now. But that's a great game we played. We did a wonderful job. I think we did the most wonderful job in creating a free will by free will, and which looks illusionary right now. What is it? Looks real at the same time. At the same time it looks like we are making it. The truth is, when you say they're making it somewhere, we made it earlier, if you can call it earlier. Now, there's another big catch. If you can understand, when we say earlier, there was no earlier. When did we make it? Now. Why did we make it now? Because only now exists, nothing else exists. The time frame is an artificial entity that we placed in our experience here just to create a past, present, and future and get into the whole show of karma and have time-space just for this kind of adventure, this kind of experience. So, we are having that experience of free will. But you can go to the Akashic records and see even there, it was written up earlier before you make it was you that made it in one instant in the now, and now spread out in time-space was made by you. And now it's being played out. But before playing it out in the physical world, it has been pre-recorded somewhere not in the physical world where you can go and see it. You can go and see because time is still there. Akashic records in the causal plane time still operates. You can see time the whole time. You can't see the word of time here. You can't even see the next moment even here. We are very bound down by a present or a now. In this physical life, we can't see a thing ahead. And we can see a little bit of the past, not even too much. Because a little past, nothing of the future, a predicted future, it might be like this, it generally happened like that, what we predict, but we can't see the future, there at the Akashic level, at least we can see the future, thus a whole past and the whole future. At the causal plane, second stage of our spiritual journey, you could go and see the whole thing. If you go there, would you like to change it? Why would you change when you made it? Why would you change it when you made it? Therefore, it is immaterial. You say, well, that guy attacks me so much, I would never have made that part. Let us take an example. That guy criticizes me all the time in this life. If I have to rewrite my life, I'll exclude him. Let me tell you a little story. Geoffrey Chaucer wrote a book. And that is that book. He writes a story of some pilgrims. Some of you might have read the story. And that he writes about certain pilgrims going to a place of worship. And they took a long time. On the way, they tell stories to each other. They sing songs, they entertain each other. And on the way they say, Chaucer, why don't you come up with some nice poetry? He says, no, I don't know much. But he is the author of everything. All the good points they have sung are also written by him. And he says, no, I don't know much poetry. And then they said, no, we know you are a good point. And then he says, okay, then he sings the worst doggerel rhyme in the whole book. And they all immediately criticize it. They criticize it saying, oh, we didn't expect that from you. Imagine this story is written by himself. He could have placed himself as the best singer, the best quote in the story. Why did he choose to be a player in that play, where he's criticized by all this own creation? This story is likened to crucifixion of Jesus. If Jesus was one with God, and say, I and my Father are one, if he says that his creation is by God's creation, how can he be crucified by his own creation? How could Chaucer be crucified by his own characters that he created in the book? He could do it because he knew as an author, he was the author of all creators, they were all written by the same man, he knew he will, every character, God puts himself in everybody equally. And he knows all of them are equal, the story is put up that one can put oneself in any position at all. So when you go to the Akashic records and see them, you see their wonderful, beautiful story. You don't make any change, says Great Master. He asked me once. He said, if you got a chance to peep into how this is made up, would you suggest some changes in the creation as they exist? Now, I say, give me a chance. Give me a chance. I looked at this creation, I came back to him to say that it is perfect. I saw the perfection of creation, for the first time, I saw everything had been placed at the right place, to store it, to make the story perfect. We see so little of the story, we see so little of life, so little of creation, that we can't see the perfection. You can never see the perfection of a thing unless you see a grand picture of it. I sometimes give an example, if there's a nice big painting over here, little portion of it, you see, you can never see the painting, you can't even see the grandeur of the painting. By little part, you can't see the whole at the perfection of this creation. It is not in the parts, but in the whole. When you will get a view of the whole, you, yourself will say T is perfect. So, that is why all these things that are happening are because of the perfection of the whole, and free will has been introduced as a very good element to make it even so interesting. Imagine a free will has been placed in the mind. So we create karma, and the karma leads to reaction. That action creates so much wonderful ups and downs here and then. But when we go back home, we will know that that was quite an adventure. Thank you. Transcribed by https://otter.ai